So this is important to know because of especially who Kamala Harris has picked as her running mate. But this isn't very long. I'm going to read it because it's important that Americans understand that everybody plays a role in helping the government be able to control your health care. And when they control your health care, they control you. The real reason the changes have happened in medicine and healthcare is related to the centralization of control in healthcare services, socialized medicine, which is the most important part of establishing communism or socialistic control over people. When you control their healthcare, you control their lives. Once the state gains control of everyone's healthcare, they control all the people. Next, they take all the guns away to protect bureaucrats and their self-appointed elite leaders from the collective uprising of the people. That is the central reason behind gun control, to put the power over the people in the hands of those who control the socialist system. There is no other argument than that which establishes complete control over each individual, then taking away their guns. The rest of their argument is nonsense. There is an abundance of evidence that when the people have guns, violence decreases substantially, as everyone knows. The next person has a gun. Thus, disagreements are resolved non-violently. The elite then gain control of the press and education systems. Essentially, all the information people receive. Societies and cultures are destroyed as immigrants overwhelm the country with radical beliefs, as in the European community, while socialists erode its principles from within. Centrally controlled socialism is then established. Just look around and see how much has changed in the ways I have described in your own country. As the U.S. government became involved in Medicare or health care for the aged in the 1990s under President Lyndon Johnson, it only added health care to Social Security and pensions offered by the corporations as settlements to communist-inspired union disputes. These benefits then became established entitlements. The people believed that the government owed them these entitlement programs as a right. These programs now have costs that go way beyond what can be provided as promised by the politicians and political leaders to gain control of the people. Such as a result happens as one would expect in a system in which all the expenses are paid by a third party, not the user of the services. Under such a system, no one cares about expenses as someone else is paying the costs. It is credit card medicine with the credit card being paid by the government. Really, the people are paying, but they do not realize it. Nevertheless, their healthcare services decline. The costs rise, and delays in care occur with a shortage of drugs and testing facilities. Quality and talented people choose other professions that are less regulated than medicine, so the quality of applicants for medicine decreases. The costs go up as more bureaucrats are involved in the distribution of the money collected by the government for health care. No centralized system of health care can determine the millions of individual demands in the marketplace for each individual. This principle is the fundamental failure in the economics of socialism. No bureaucrat can determine what is needed in every location in the USA or a country or town, or those factors are determined best by the local marketplace. This allows each individual physician an opportunity to achieve his or her best in providing care for the customer who is the patient. Since the locally controlled free market system was replaced with centrally controlled socialism, there has to be some way to determine what the doctor is doing for the government to pay. So, complex medical records were developed with forms to be filled out that have little to do with patient care, but are used by the bureaucrats to control the doctors. Since the government, which now runs healthcare, does not know how to distinguish good from bad physicians, they instituted a system of payment in which all are basically paid the same for each operation. The only way doctors could make more money was to develop more complicated operations, as the spine surgery, for which their pay was rewarded at a higher level. Thus, the biomedical industry, which benefited from this incentivization to buy equipment, supported this system. So prices got higher for complex spine surgery, and doctors made more money. The evaluation of those products against standard operations and against each other was not done, as it would have destroyed the incomes of the biomedical companies and show that much of the complex surgical equipment is unnecessary. This is a worldwide problem, so everyone is playing the system to gain the most money they can. You can see where this thinking will end up with the corruption and eventual destruction of medicine as we know it. The system has failed in Russia, Communist China, most of the Europe, South America, and now is failing in the U.S. Free enterprise and free markets have never been fully tried in healthcare, although the bureaucrats are quick to say that the free market does not work. That's because the free market under capitalism, it's crony capitalism. It's not the same thing as the free market. Being 80 years of age, I witnessed medicine for 70 years with my father as a physician, and the free market did work, as did healthcare. Doctors gave away much medical care to those who could not afford it at the time, although the costs were never mentioned or recorded. When the government entered medical care, they took away the doctor's rights to perform x-rays, lab tests, and distribute drugs in the office. They gave that right to hospitals. As one can imagine, the hospitals charged more for these services than the doctor. The government eventually gave the hospital 3% over their costs for doing these tests and taking care of patients. Naturally, the hospitals raised their charges to make more money under the 3% rule, so prices for care at hospitals climbed to ridiculous levels, as one would see if he or she inspects a patient's bill today. Hospital administrators do not contribute to the health care of patients. Now they run the hospitals and control the money that is generated by physicians. Add to that more bureaucrats to run this complex, centralized, controlled system that gives you healthcare today, as explained by Dr. Ghali. It is doubtful that medicine will return to the free market system. So what Dr. Ghali has described is the result of socialism, not only in medicine, but in industry and other parts of our economy. Medical care is headed for a total failure as the costs get higher and the controls over the doctors and the workers by the bureaucrats limit what they can do and how they can get paid. Incentive to practice the best is put in quotations. The best medicine is lost because it is not rewarded. The quality of healthcare is declining, as is in the education of medical students under an increasingly socialized educational system. This system rewards outcome and does not incentivize each individual to his or her best. Would it matter if everyone were paid the same in the end? So why work hard? In a free market system, each person is incentivized to do his best for her or himself and family. And yes, some are better than others and deserve more for their creativity. But Karl Marx stated, from each according to his ability to each according to his needs, as the fundamental principle of socialism. In a socialist society, the successful and rich are supposed to support the others, including the bureaucrats. Socialism is supposed to guarantee equal outcomes for all, which never occurs because of the inevitable corruption of the bureaucrats who control the socialist system. Socialism will fail, as we see Venezuela, the USSR, Communist China, and other authoritarian forms of government in Europe and the USA. Healthcare will also fail, as it is seen in these countries. So I'm sad to say that this is your future in healthcare and socialism. It will become increasingly more centralized control and costly as it supports bureaucrats and not those in need.